Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Early Christmas gifts, that's how one lawmaker described the call of President Bongbong Marcos to scrap the system lost charges and raise the ceiling for income tax exemptions. Marcos made those proposals during his State of the Nation address, drawing applause from the audience. But when can consumers expect these measures, and how will the government address the potential impacts on revenues? Let's get on point with House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Congressman Miro Quimbo. Congressman, good to see you again.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, sir. Okay, two things that I really wanted to talk to you about. Let's start with the tax exemption, the 350,000 tax exemption ceiling, meaning in the past, hanggang 250,000 lang yung tax exempt. Ang gusto ni Pangulo, iakyat yan to 350,000. My first question, sir, is ilan ho ba ang makikinabang kapag na-raise na yung tax exception to 350,000?
You'll be surprised. No? We looked at the labor force survey or the LFS survey of the Philippine Statistical Authority. Ang makikinabang dito is a little over 4 million individual taxpayers who are paying tax today but will end up not paying any taxes.
4 million.
4 million.
In addition, this is
Yes,
over
yes.
and above, obviously, those who are already not paying the 250,000,
Well,
those earning 250,000.
Let's put it this way. Under the current tax regime, around 24.5 million Filipinos are exempt from paying taxes.
25.4.
Yes, but with the movement to 350, it will actually become close to 29 million. Hindi na magbabayad ng buwis. So,
Opo.
marami. Quite a large number of individuals.
Yeah, that's about, I would say, 3.6 million additional.
Yes,
3.6 million additional po yan.
Give or take, yeah. What's 400,000 between friends? Probably
Okay.
around 4 million.
So, sige. In addition, there will be, just to put clarity again, in addition, kapag maipasa ito, meron pong 3.6 million na mga taxpayers na hindi na po magbabayad ng tax. Ito po yung mga kumikita ng about 30,000 a month,
31 to 32,000 a month.
Okay.
So they will now be exempt because it's not correct. I mean, just to be clear, when you say 350, it does not mean 350 per annum, because what your taxable income actually is your gross income less your statutory deduction.
Yeah.
If you're in government, that's GSIS,
Tama.
which is roughly around 8 to 9%. That's PhilHealth, which is 2%, and that's Pag-ibig Fund, which today I think is at 200 pesos. So if you remove all of that and you reach 350, you're still tax exempt.
I see, hindi kinukuha po sa gross. Ang pinag-uusapan natin to net.
It is your
take-home
annual
pay.
annual taxable income.
Opo, okay.
So
all right.
it's like your net take home pay. You're
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
But there's a different second basket. The second basket is your 13th month pay.
Let's go to that a little later on. Pero hindi po yan kasama doon sa 350,000.
Kasama yan.
Kasama pa po
Kasama
sa
yan.
13th
Kasama
month
yan.
pay.
Because the way you compute your taxable income
see.
is your taxable income from
Yeah.
your gross, meaning it is your gross less your statutory deduction, and then you add from the basket of additional income that you get. But you're
generated.
exempt up to 90,000 there. So but today, the move is to increase it to 120.
Yung 90,000.
So whatever
increase it to
remains from your
120.
13th month, 14th month, or whatever additional income you have, as long as it does not reach 120, that's also tax exempt.
Congressman Miro, ilan ho ba ang mga nagbabayad ng taxes dito sa Pilipinas? Kasi sabi mo kung aakyat po ng 29 million if matupad po itong 350,000 exemption, how many are actually paying
If
taxpayers?
I'm not mistaken, around 8 to 9 million are paying taxes today. Because when you look at
Sorry, 8 to 9.
8 to 9 million, because if you look at the total number of individuals that are actually earning personal compensation, meaning individual taxpayers, umaabot yan halos 38 million.
Okay.
So individuals. So from there, around 28.5 will now be tax exempt.
Okay. So, is it right to say, because it's a lot of numbers,
Yeah.
is it right to say that merong 38 million na mga Pilipino ang nagbabayad ng taxes.
That's according to the labor force survey. Yes.
Tapos, kapag matuloy po ito, yung gusto ni Pangulo na i-exempt si 350,000, 29.20,
Around 29 million will now be exempt from tax. So ang magbabayad na lang ng taxes is roughly around 8 million
8
Filipinos.
million, 9 million actually, 38. Okay. Ganun, parang ang konti na lang po talaga ng babayad ng tax because if you're looking at 29 million exempted out of 38 million, that's just 9 million Filipinos paying taxes.
I mean, don't forget, minimum wage earners are exempt already.
Yeah.
So that's a substantial number in the labor force.
Yeah.
You're talking about not just minimum wage, but you're talking about unregistered Filipino workers too. Farm workers, family workers, kasama din yan dyan. So, totoo, you're correct that the tax base is actually narrow for individual taxpayers because the thrust really of government, like in many developing countries, the thrust is really indirect taxes. You get your money from indirect taxes because you want people to be able to take home what they work hard for.
All right. Let's talk about the stage by which or timeline by which this could be passed into law. This needs to emanate from the House?
It has to emanate from the House.
Okay. Pakipaliwanag po.
Well, under the Constitution, there are two kinds of laws that exclusively emanate from the House. These are laws pertaining to appropriation or the budget, or secondly, revenue measures or tax measures. They have to originate from us, so we have to do the work first before the Senate can do the work. Because, well, I guess the basis there is that you can't have any taxation without representation. That's in the Constitution. So it has to emanate from the House of Representatives.
Okay. Pagkatapos po nun, ano
Pagkatapos
pa isa?
sa amin is
Sabi niyo dalawa po, yung isa is what? Impeachment.
Budget.
Budget. Okay.
Also
Baka
the
isa pa,
impeachment.
tatlo po.
Yeah,
All right, so budget,
actually.
any tax measures, and
I
of
wanted
course...
to avoid that discussion, actually.
Don't worry, sir. We don't have time for that kasi importante din the systems laws. Okay. So, what is the timeline you're looking at? Because hindi ho ba nag-file na rin ng resolution dito si Speaker at si Majority Leader?
They filed a bill yesterday, so we're hoping to be able to finish by August. So the entire month of August will be dedicated to this, so that the timeline is by January 1, the edict of the President will already happen. Meaning, for the calendar year, people will start receiving on January 16 or 15 better wages.
I see. In other words, you're saying hopefully the ideal time or month is that by January next year, maisa sa katuparan na po ito?
Well, if it can be earlier, why not? But I think for tax administration purposes, it is always best to start at the start of the year.
How much is government going to lose with this measure?
Well, I've seen two numbers, but based on our numbers, we're looking at around 48 billion will be lost.
Yeah, I
from
heard a
this.
while ago, 60 billion naman po.
60 billion if you count including the minimum corporate income, the MCI for the small businessmen, who
I
will
see.
also be benefited kasi aalisin na rin yun.
Yeah, so let's say 48 to 60 billion. Where does government now plan? Are you mandated to look for other areas where you can generate the money that will be lost due to this exemption?
Well, that's going to be the work of the DOF, where the recovery will come from. But obviously, we don't want anything that's revenue. We want to come up with revenue measures that are neutral, meaning that does not affect or not make the tax base more narrow. So first is that the economic effect that will take place, meaning if a person now receives 3,000 pesos more, even from the standpoint of an economist, it's like saying, who do you want the money to spend? Do you want it government in the form of taxes, or do you want to give it directly to the taxpayer so that they can make the decision themselves?
Yeah.
So just by that alone, they have more money for the market, they have more money to pay for their electricity.
Kumbaga parang tumataas kasi yung purchasing power niya kasi may extra siyang pera.
That's really the purpose. The
Yeah.
purpose really is to bring it back to 2018. People who were tax exempt then are no longer tax exempt today. So we want to bring them back to where they were in 2018,
I see.
plus another set of group of individuals. And this is really meant to hit the middle income, meaning the lower middle class.
Yeah.
They're the ones who will benefit from
It's not
this.
middle income, sir. 30,000 a month is not middle income.
That's low. You will be surprised. In the family income and expenditure survey, on the 10th decile of the 10 deciles, that's middle income.
Lower middle income.
Yeah, lower middle income.
Okay.
You don't think it's middle income because it's too low?
Well, it appears that way, sir.
No, that's essentially that. But we have a very narrow middle class, but they're the ones being targeted for the simple reason that they're the ones who don't benefit from the ayuda programs.
No, they don't, yeah.
So they're never touched by government.
Kaya nga sabi, parang nakakalimutan ata yung tinatawag nga na middle class. But when you talk about middle class, it can be very broad. It is a broad market, and iisa-isahin po natin magkano po yun, ilan ang miyembro ng pamilya, etc. And we really don't have time for that. So it's going to be up to the Department of Finance to find ways to be able to generate more income because of the revenue loss.
Yes, and our task is to make sure that it will not come from activities or revenue measures that are going to be unprogressive. Meaning, you don't want to happen that you give with the left hand the tax break, yet you take it indirectly with the right hand through some other measure.
One thing, though, that came to mind when you were saying, sabi mo in 2018, these are the same people who were exempt in 2018 who are
Correct.
not exempt now.
Correct.
Shouldn't the tax exemption be more progressive and active? Because ibig sabihin po nun, sa simpleng pananalita, noong 2018, yung kumikita nun, exempt sila. Pagdating ng 2026, di na sila exempted kasi tumaas na po yung kanilang sweldo. But ganun din po, tumaas din po yung
Bilihin.
bayarin, di ho ba?
Tama.
Shouldn't that have been more active, progressive, yung not exempting, or yung exemption po sa mga sweldo?
Well, you can't have an automatic exemption function. No?
But what about just a review?
Yeah, this is the review. Effectively, this is the review. Although the law actually says that there should be a review every 5 years, when you look at the effectivity of the 2018 train law, it actually became effective in 2022 fully. So the review is actually happening 4 years instead of 5 years after the full effectivity.
I see.
So the president is taking a more proactive stance, and Congress has been demanding, because we see it on the ground, that people simply have less purchasing power.
And to end this topic, sir, you see a lot of, you see majority of the congressmen and congresswomen supporting this measure.
I'm certain. I mean, anything that reduces the cost or at least increases the purchasing power of our constituents, we'll always support it as long as it's responsibly undertaken.
We'll be taking a short break. We'll continue our discussion with Congressman Miro Quimbo when we return. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. Still with us, House Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Miro Quimbo. Let's talk about system loss charges, sir. Kasi ang dami na pong nag-interview sa inyo nito. Let's talk about this now. And
Wala
let's
yata
try
gusto magsalita eh. Anyway.
Walang gusto magsalita. So, ano ho, duwag sila? Ganon?
Well, it's a very complex issue. And it's not really under my committee, but obviously, since there's a value-added tax imposed on it, it's something that I've looked at in the past.
Yeah. So there are two components here, system loss charges and of course the VAT that comes with it. First, let's lay the groundwork, sir. Yung system loss charges ay basically ipinapataw sa mga consumers dahil from generation, tama ho ba, until distribution, natural na may nawawala talaga
Meron talaga.
Electricity. Yeah. There was someone who, I forget who likened it to this, and I'm sorry, nakalimutan ko kung sino po nagsabi nito, para daw yelo na mula sa supplier, bago pumunta sa consumer, maaaring magkaroon talaga ng siguro pag-melt no, ng yellow. So, bakit ho ba kasi from the beginning ay ipinasa po sa mga consumers ang system loss charges? What was the idea behind that?
We need to be clear. There are two kinds of system loss.
Yeah.
One is inherent, meaning by the nature of the commodity, like yung yellow, natutunaw talaga along the way, ganun din ang kuryente. Because of heat, because of how old the system is, there will be power dissipation.
Ang tawag doon, technical.
It's inherent, it's technical. Okay. So you really have no control over it, or very little. Yung isa is because of inefficiency, because of tampering, because of pilferage, because of people stealing it, or because you have old meters, etc. Lahat. Those are the fault of the distributor. But the system's loss is there because somebody has to pay for it. Yeah. It happens. It's like saying, pag gumagawa ka ng maong, may retaso eh. Ang retaso, hindi naman yan itinatapon. I mean, tinatapon yan, but somebody has to pay for that too. It's embedded as part and parcel of the cost when producing the pants.
I haven't really researched on this because it just came to mind. In other countries, sir, Meron ho bang systems loss at ipinapataw ho ba din yan sa consumers?
It is present in all jurisdictions.
I see.
It's just treated differently from one state to the other.
Okay.
So it is inherent. Somebody has to pay for that.
No, I mean in other countries,
Otherwise-
do the consumers pay for it as well?
Yes, yes. In some, it is the government that subsidizes it. Just if only to minimize the cost, the pass-on cost to the consumer. So, when you do that, the beauty of putting the systems loss in your billing is that first, you as a consumer, you're able to monitor how much systems loss are you paying for. Secondly, from the standpoint of the regulator, you're able to see what amount of system loss are they charging. So that way, you can actually impose and say that you can only put up to 5%. That's allowable internationally. This is the only way. So government, when you put that as an item, it's really a transparency measure and an accountability measure. So to me, it really makes sense. Because if you remove that, they will just embed it as part of the overall cost. Kaya nga in-unbundle eh.
Yeah.
We've been asking electric companies, generation companies, petroleum companies to unbundle their costs so we can monitor what are we paying for. And if we see something that is excessive, we will clamp down.
Siguro, lahat naman po tayo gusto makatipid, hindi ho ba, with the electricity, our electricity bills, because indeed it is already touted to be the highest, I think in Southeast Asia, or if not in Asia. When we talk about those two components, sir, sa systems loss charges, meron pong technical, yung talagang nawawala bago makarating sa'yo. At yung pangalawa ho kasi, yung medyo unacceptable, yung mga jumper, pilferage, etc.
Yeah.
Kasi bakit naman pati yun ay kailangan pabayaran ng consumer? Bakit kasalanan pa yun ng consumer? Again, why was that bundled there as well?
I think as long as it falls within a threshold that is allowable. You have to remember that no company will ever engage in electric distribution if you don't allow it. Because they're not going to be able to make money because loss will naturally happen. Who pays for that? They have to pass it on. Just like when you said, when they purchase the power from the power generation company, they pay for 1 kilowatt. But what reaches the end is 0.95. So who shoulders that? They pay for that. They have to pass it on.
But then my question there is, which I totally understand, no? It does make sense in that regard. Pero yung mga nanakaw, yung mga may pilferage, yung mga may jumper, bakit kasalanan pa rin ng consumers? Hindi naman kasalanan, bakit cargo pa rin ng mga customers?
I agree. I agree. For those that are not inherent, those things can be carved out. But instead of prohibiting or making it illegal, I think what has made sense in other jurisdictions is you incentivize them. Meaning,
How so?
if you go below the threshold, which is kung ano man yung acceptable minimum na systems loss, whether it's 4%, 5%, if you go below that, government will actually provide you an incentive to make yourself efficient.
Well, if government wants to keep that systems loss as with two components of technical and yung non-technical, yun po yung nananakaw. Again, bakit hindi kaya gobyerno na lang magbayad noon? Bakit palagi yung mga consumers, sir?
Magandang pag-isipan yun, no? I think I agree first with you, alisin na natin talaga, wag bayaran yung non-technical. Yung meaning, efficiency issues, kasalanan ng distributor, hindi dapat binabayaran. Pero yung inherent, somebody has to pay for that.
Yeah.
One way is for government to come in and pay for that. But there's another ticklish issue there.
Which is?
Which is, when government pays for that, how much is that? Is that 65 billion? Just in, those are taxpayers' money. So, who benefits from that? Because today, the poorest of the poor have a lifeline rate. So, they're already subsidized. So, I've seen many studies that show that if you actually subsidize systems loss, you're actually subsidizing the middle class and the rich using taxpayers' money paid for mostly by poor people. So,
Taxpayers' money mostly paid by poor people?
Because our system of taxation, biggest part of our taxation revenue is not from compensation earners. It is from indirect taxes, from value-added tax, excise taxes, meaning consumer taxes.
Yeah.
So,
bakit naman po poor? Parang
no,
misleading naman
I meant, you need to make sure that if you're going to spend taxpayers' money, you need to make sure that the ones that benefit are not the rich.
Yeah.
So the counter argument for government to pay for that is you're actually subsidizing the middle income to the rich because they're the ones who consume the most electricity. They're the ones that consume the most. So are you going to do that, or are you better off don't subsidize, just give it directly to the poor, meaning to the poor and to the near poor, ito pambayad ng inyong kuryente. That's the most effective.
So ibig nyo sabihin, Congressman, pwedeng iakyat po yung lifeline na
Correct.
per ano. Kasi where is it now? Is it at
If I'm
200?
No, it's based on I forgot now, but essentially it's on, I think, less than 100 kilowatts per month. So essentially, I think like if Meralco like 700 pesos and below.
But the middle income that you called a while ago na 30,000 net, no? That makes about 30,000 a month. Ito po yung mga ngailangan din ng tanggal sa systems loss charges, sir. You already excluded them with that kind of proposal.
No. Effectively, when you do that, like I said, there are many ways to be able to do that, meaning to help them. The most important is really increasing their net take-home pay without harming the employer.
But I remember you said you give one hand but not take from the other hand. But that's the scenario I'm seeing right now. Kasi ang sinasabi nyo, please correct me if I'm wrong, taasan natin yung lifeline customers, hindi ho ba? Wag na natin, tama ba, wag na natin tanggalin yung systems loss charges because ang nakikinabang lang talaga dyan ay ang middle class.
On the VAT.
Oh, sorry.
On
okay.
the VAT.
Sa VAT. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go there. So anyway, the proposal for the systems loss charges, what is your stand there? Just to be clear about this, sir.
Well, somebody has to pony up. Ibig ko sabihin, somebody has to pay for that. I think government has to really study whether it should subsidize it or not. Meaning, there's a way for government to really look at the profile of the consumers. Now, truly, if the consumers are mostly or more than 50% are middle income to lower income, then government should step in. And it should step in the form of direct subsidy to the consumer himself.
Direct subsidy.
Yeah. So, and it's very easy. You have your electric bill. So it's very easy. There's no, the manner by which you consume or the amount of electricity you consume determines your economic class. In reality,
in a way, yeah.
I don't need to study you. I don't need to look at your salary. I don't need to look at your consumption. I just need to look at your kuryente. Kapag ang kuryente mo ganito, mayaman ka. Ibig sabihin, may aircon ka, may microwave ka, may kung ano ka.
But what is your stand on that?
My stand is really to have a direct subsidy program. Meaning so that you are really able to hit directly individuals who are in need. There are no spoilages,
and who
there
are
are no
those in
spillages.
need? For you?
To me, it's really if you look at the economic deciles of our population, it is from the 10th decile all the way up to the 6th decile.
Which are? Who are?
Which are essentially the poorest of the poor up to the lower middle class.
Lower middle class,
Yeah.
okay. Quick, sir, doon sa VAT, we wanted to talk about that. Paano po yung VAT naman doon sa systems loss charges?
I think, well, that's not really very substantial when you think about it. It's just unjust. I think what needs to be looked at, Pinky, is the imposition of VAT in the entire electricity cycle. Today,
you mean from
impose
generation?
VAT. Yeah, from generation,
distribution?
you impose VAT.
I see.
From transmission, Transco, may VAT yan. Pagdating sa distribution, Meralco, may VAT na naman yan. So, along the way, the same commodity is effectively taxed three times. So, in my mind, it is best to actually just tax it either at point of origin, meaning at generation, doon na lang siya hihinto. So, that's one way to actually reduce the cost of our electricity.
That should be seriously looked into,
It is,
sir,
and
no?
we will. It will. That's going to be under my committee, jointly with the Committee on Energy. Speaker Bojidi has said that we need to really look at this in finding ways to reduce the price of power.
That'd be interesting. Don't impose the VAT 3 times, just impose it once. No,
Yeah, because
basically.
the law really defines it as a value-added tax, meaning for every transaction that takes place where you give it more value, you impose it. But I think in this case, it's really one single commodity, just moving from one place to the other.
Congressman Quimbo, sir, good to see you again. And I hope to speak to you again, sir, mas lalo na kapag medyo gumalaw na po itong dalawang issue na ito.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir. House and Ways Means Committee Chairman, Congressman Miro Quimbo. That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.